Greetings, YouTube. So it is Data Links Magnus. I am back after a hiatus. So been a little bit busy with work and such, even in the evenings. So I haven't really had time to crank out videos. And quite honestly, I haven't had the energy to crank out videos. However, I have been busy in the lab. So today we are going to run through a bunch of JoyToy Warhammer 40K custom stuff. So we're going to start here today with my new chapter. So I've done a previous video where I showed off a new chapter, these guys, the Saber Wings, and this is my newest chapter, the Serpentis Tenebrae, which is High Gothic / Latin for shadow serpents or dark serpents. So these guys are, whoops, sorry chapter master, but these guys are based on or using the base of the Black Templar body. That body is all black for the most part, and it made a good base for what I was looking for. I wanted them to have black armor, and then I liked the Black Templar color scheme, like the burgundies, the blacks, the silver, the kind of beigeish color here, and I just added some flair to it. Came up with a symbol for them. It's kind of an open mouth snake. And the lore here, what I'm going for, it's still a work in progress, but I'm going for Primaris chapter, and they have a chapter master who was once a Black Templar, and I'm going to come up with a reason why he left and why he became the chapter master for this Primaris chapter. And then they originate from, or they had an incursion or something that happened on a planet where there was these serpents that had this look to their scales. And this, I'm gonna work the lore in so that they did something with these serpents, or they had confrontations with them, or some miracle happened with them, you know, some Warhammer 40K-ish thing. And that is why they are now wearing the scales, kind of like how the salamanders do with their fire drakes or whatever. So a couple of things about these guys. For some of them, I kept some of the Black Templar stuff, and other ones I didn't or added to it, like this burgundy strap here, that's cloth goods. Got that, added some other pieces. All of them have this on their left foot or shin area. Got the squad number, or maybe that's company number. I can't remember what I had. But I had them. I also put on some of them black chains, just to add the flair, the detail, trying to keep it very much in tune with how JoyToy does their stuff. Added a servitor here. That is from a 3D printed part. So yeah, I'll be talking more about these guys in the future, work them into my lore, my universe that I'm building. Now let's take a look at something else that I've done. So typically the way JoyToy and really Warhammer period delineates between people in the Space Marine chapters that are of a much higher rank, like a captain or a chapter master. They're usually in bigger armor, sometimes even Terminator armor, but oftentimes it's some type of bigger armor, and they're just bigger than everyone else for whatever reason. I don't know if you know, specifically because of the armor, or if it's just because they are bigger, but that's how they do it. So I wanted a chapter master for my new chapter here. So what I did is I grabbed a Eradicator suit, basically took this guy and did a whole makeover. So this was this, painted him all black, and then added all the flair and such. The beauty of these JoyToy Space Marines is that all of their joints are already black, because that's how the power armor is set up. So you're just painting parts that aren't, you know, joints, so you don't have to worry about paint rub or anything like that. So you can do full makeovers like this and not have to take the entire figure apart. Like, I did not take him apart. I didn't take off any of these pieces to do this paint job. So now I have a bigger Space Marine to play the part of Chapter Master. And then I also did one for my Saber Wings. So this is, again, an Eradicator. This one was a Ultramarine one. And since he's, you know, got blue armor, painted the blue over it just to get my color blue. Quick aside, these symbols that I did on here, like that skull symbol, and then this guy's serpent symbol, which is not as sharp as I would like it to be, but from far away it's okay. I did those using these here. So I got these little leather, like, I don't know what to even call these. It's not actually real leather probably, but these little, you know, cutouts of these. And what I do is I use my sticky tape that has a sticky film on the other side of it. It's like you use it to stitch up fabrics and stuff. But I put this on the back of it, and then I can draw what I want, and then I can cut. And this is stiff enough that it'll actually allow me to make sharper cuts, more precise cuts. And then I have what I need, and I can paint it whatever color I want, and it will fit over curved surfaces. And as you can see, super cheap. So this is how I put together my Chapter Masters. And then of course, you can see I added all types of flair and details and purity steels and everything else to make them look the part. Okay, so JoyToy has done an excellent job of going very deep into the Warhammer 40K universe. We've gotten a decent to good amount of Space Marine chapters. It looks like they kind of started out with the actual, like the original Legion ones, and now it looks like they're moving more towards some of your successor chapters. You got the White Consuls coming. They already did Black Templars. I assume something like Crimson Fist is on the way, things like that. But bad guy wise, they've gone maybe, I would say, like 4 of the factions. You got the Tau, you got Necrons, you got Orcs, and then you have some Chaos Marines. That's really it. And the Chaos Marines have kind of been sparse. There's a lot of the Black Legion, but the other Traitor / Chaos Marine legions, we only have like 2 or 3 of them, if that. I think the Word Bearers, there's only like 1. The Orcs haven't really gone too deep into them either. It looks like they kind of experimented with some. I think they should probably revisit the Orcs, to be honest. They're one of the weaker offerings, I would say. But there's no Eldari yet, no Chaos Demons yet, no Tyranids. So trying to expand my universe a little bit, I was looking around and I found these Halo figures, which I've used Halo figures before to supplement my my 118 stuff. And I saw these nasty looking monster things. Flood tank something or other. I don't know what it's from. I know it's from Halo. That's about all I know. But I know it looked very similar to Nurglings, or demons of the chaos god Nurgle. So I was like, okay, I could do something with those. So I went on Amazon, seeing that they were available for cheap. They come in a 2-pack actually with Master Chief. So, I mean, I guess it is what it is. Can't really get them single, but they work out perfectly. I looked at a couple of reviews before I got some, and then I only bought 2 here just in case they weren't going to work out for what I wanted to do, but it looks like they are going to. So I'm probably going to get at least like 2 more so I can have a little bit of a hoard. So I didn't do much to these guys extra, except I added these little nasty looking ball pus vesicles, legion, disgusting, blemishes on these guys. So these were actually really easy to do, and I didn't figure this out at first because I was actually doing something else with them before. And this guy's a little bit top heavy and weird to stand up. There we go. So, in your JoyToy figures, you always get one of these to keep your toys from getting moist or mold growing on them or anything like that. And there's little balls inside. So I open them up, and there's these little balls that are relatively the same size, but they vary a little bit. And I just stuck them onto these guys with some Mod Podge, and you get the disgusting look. It's very easy to do. So then I was like, you know what? I want a great unclean one, a big, huge, hulking, nasty monster to go with these little guys. Because as you can see, as far as these little guys go, they're about the size of a Space Marine, maybe a little bit taller. But I wanted a great unclean one. How would I get a great unclean one? JoyToy hasn't gone there yet. They probably will, but they haven't. How do I get one? So, just like I do with any custom I'm trying to do, I did some research, seeing if there was something out there that was similar that maybe I could tweak to get to be my great unclean one, my greater demon of Nurgle. And I found this guy, Stitches, from some obsolete, already gone, done line of figures. They also have some other monster-looking things that I might use for some other factions, but this guy was perfect. I just needed to maybe paint him green and then see what else I needed to do. So I apologize up front because I did not take a whole lot of pictures of the work in progress of him. So I'll put what I have up here, but this is the finished product. So here is, let me move these guys out of the way before I knock over a bunch of stuff. The Great Unclean One. Absolutely putrid, disgusting, hideous monster. Like I was telling my brother, this is the most hideous, beautiful custom I've ever done. But it's absolutely gross. Just like he's supposed to be. So as you can see here, a lot of this stuff on him was already sculpted in. Like these little boils and pock marks on his butt and everything. All that stuff was sculpted in. All I had to do was bring it out with a little color. He was mostly blue. You can see a little bit of that blue poking out there. So I dry brushed him with a mixture of green to get that, not, classic green, but more of a putrid, nasty green. Used some dark red, kind of blood colored paint to brighten up his injuries / cuts and openings and sores. And let's see, what else did I do? And as you can see here, just like on the little guys, I use those balls to make his big boils and vesicles and nastiness that's all on him. I actually think I'm gonna put some on his face here too. And let's see, what else did I do as far as him? Oh, his horns. So Stitches did not have horns. As you can see, I'll put a picture of him up again. So I went in my fodder bags and I found these antler horns. These are from Mythic Legions. So I cut them and I put them on, and they were on there, and I do have a picture of that. So they were on there and they looked fine, but they weren't as big as I wanted them to be. So, and when you look at the pictures of the greater unclean ones, their horns are really big and, they're not as skinny. So I used my milliput here to sculpt over the horns that I already had on there, just to thicken them up at the base and then kind of just gradually work it out. And the beauty of this is that because they're supposed to be all gnarled up and jagged and nasty, I didn't need to really smooth out what I put on there. I needed to have crevices and cracks and stuff like that. So get all that on there, seal it with Mod Podge, paint over it, and put a wash in there to get into the cracks and things. I don't know if you can actually see that. So and then smooth it out as far as attaching it to his head, and it looks like it's supposed to be there. So yeah, very, very happy with this. Sealed the paint with Mod Podge. use the glossy Mod Podge, because they have matte Mod Podge and then they also have glossy. Use that on the areas that are supposed to be like wet, like his open stomach here and his little wounds, and I also put it on the boils and sores, so that, you know, to get the grossness factor as high as I could. It does retain its articulation. He can still move. He wasn't hugely articulated to begin with. I don't really need him to be. I just need him to be able to swing his arms, move his hands, legs a little bit. The head moves, and actually this jaw moves too, believe it or not. And the tongue actually used to come out, but I think I put some Mod Podge in there to make it look like he had slobber going, so it probably doesn't come out as much as it used to. But yeah, and this other extra arm, it also has rotation and movement. So yes, my greater unclean one. Absolutely hideous, disgusting, putrid, gross. Nice. All right, so let's see how he looks with some Space Marines. Okay, so to wrap this up, let's take a look at my greater unclean one with some other figures. So here we have him with a Terminator. This is one of the new Blood Angel Terminators. This is supposed to be a really big set of armor that guys are in. A regular size Space Marine Dark Angel. The Eradicator size, my chapter master of my Serpentis Tenebrae chapter. Bigger plate of armor than regular, but not as big as a Terminator. So looks pretty good, I think, as far as size wise. Nice and big, enough to maybe challenge a Primarch. And then just for our last second comparison here we have an official chapter master size figure, the bigger type figure, Marneus Calgar of the Ultramarines. Again, he's about the same size as him. I think he's a little bit taller, but yeah. So greater unclean one, very imposing, very menacing looking. Okay, so just to wrap up here, talking about JoyToy Warhammer figures. A lot of people say, gosh, they're kind of expensive to be 1/18th. True. However, they're starting to go down in price. And if you're savvy enough, you can catch a lot on sale. You can catch them in groups, like you can buy a pack of like 3 or 4 and you get them for a much cheaper price. Even these bigger guys now that they're in the repaint stage where they're using the same molds and they're repainting stuff's gone down. You can get these bigger figures for, you know, less than $50, sometimes $40, sometimes $30, depending on what it is, because they're in the repaint stage. So now is a good time to hop in if you're interested, if you've been looking from afar and like, you know, those look nice, but you know, I won't be able to get a whole bunch of them because they're expensive. You can find them for cheaper now. So like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think about my greater demon here. Later.